Hello and welcome back to my channel. Last summer I decided to do some wax paper dyeing, and this is how I did it. I will link the video that inspired me down below. Here I'm just adding in my dye. I'm using 1 part dye with 2 parts vinegar, and I'm doing several colors here. I hope the music isn't too loud. I'm just learning how to edit, so if this doesn't turn out very good, you'll know why, because I'm still an amateur at all this. And the camera was not really in good focus. Like I said, I did this last summer, and this was a new camera that I was playing around with, so I didn't know exactly how to do everything. We were doing this outside in our backyard while we were barbecuing, and it was very windy. You'll probably see the table cover pop up here every now and then when the wind blows it. But it was a nice sunny day. It was actually pretty hot outside, so this all went pretty quickly as far as drying the paper and everything. Here's my wax paper balls that I'm using wax paper from Dollar Tree. I just pulled off about 12 inches and crumpled it up, made just a big batch of it all at one time. And now I'm adding the hot water. This is water that I just boiled, and it was slightly less hot than boiling when I put it in here. And I just filled my containers about half full so that I have plenty of room to put the paper in there without it spilling out. And then I just added 5 or 6 pieces, and just kind of equally distributed them among the containers. And I wanted to leave enough room so that I could move them around and make sure they were submerged really well. In the video that I watched before I did this, she only did 1 color, and she was doing it on the actual stovetop, and she actually boiled the water and dye and then put the paper in there while it was still cooking, and she basically cooked the paper. Because I wanted to do so many different colors, I didn't want to try to do that. Plus, I didn't want to get any of this dye in the kitchen. So this is just the way I came up with doing it. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to be doing some more this summer. I do want to say be sure and put on gloves because this stuff will get all over your hands and it will dye your hands too instead of not just the paper. Always rinse off your tongs in between colors so that you don't mix your colors together unless you just want to mix your colors together. At the end, I actually do that. So you can come up with some pretty cool, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Color combinations. Yeah, that's it. I'll let these sit in the dye for about 30 minutes. When I do it again, I think I'm going to let them set a lot longer. Although the darker colors, they do pretty good on a short amount of time. But like the lemon and maybe a couple of the blues, I might leave in a lot longer. These tongs and the tongs I got from the Dollar Tree for $1, and the aluminum pans I got from Walmart. I was going to use the Dollar Tree ones, but they were a little bit flimsy, and I didn't want to take a chance on dropping them or having them bend when I picked them up to move them because I really didn't want dye all over me. So they were like, they probably worked out to be about $1 for each pan because you buy them in 3 packs. And I reused them several times, so I got my money's worth from them. This is the yellow, and I really should have let the yellow sit a lot longer than I did because it's a very pale yellow. I'm going to do some experimenting again this summer and try to figure out exactly how long to leave some of these in here, and I'll probably do a blog post about that. And I'm doing these just for my own use. I may trade some of them, but I don't sell these. Um, but if anybody who's watching this would like to do some swapping, just get a hold of me and we'll see what we can do. I know you can buy them on Etsy. There are several people who sell them, and they're. I did not measure my paper, and I just pulled off some and crumpled it up. So none of mine are uniform. So I'm considering going back and trimming them up and using my scraps for something, I don't know. So here we're rinsing in cold water, and I just squeeze as much as the dye out as I can. This dye is still very hot, so don't put your hands in it. Use the tongs, and then I just put it in a bucket of cold water and swish it around for a few minutes, and then take it out. And you'll see here in a minute, I hang it up. I made me a drying rack, and I hung it on that to let it dry, because like I said, it was hot and windy, and it didn't take long at all for the paper to dye, for it to dry. And once it's dry, the dye will not come back off on your hand, so that's really good. And I'm a little bit out of frame here on this. Sorry about that. I just had another pan that I would take it out. There we go. And just kind of rinse them off and put them in there, and then squeeze them out and hang them up to dry. You can see the variations. When you crumple it, this is what it's going to look like after you take it out of the dye. Now you can, because there is a lot of white, like in that one, you could dip it into a different color, and it would dye that white part. That's another thing I want to experiment with this summer. And here's my drying rack, and it's just something my husband rigged up for me. It's with some twine, and I bought some cheap Dollar Tree clothespins, and you just hang it up, and it takes very little time to dry. And even if you'll see that some of them are blown up and everything. Don't worry about that. It'll all flatten out later when you take it off. Okay, so this is the result of what I just showed you that I dyed last summer. This is the two different blacks, and if you'll notice, and you can see better on my blog because I took some still pictures, and it was a lot easier to tell the difference. But one has a much more purpley look, and this one is more of a black. These were both black dyes, one with synthetic and one was just the regular dye. I can't remember which one is which now, but just keep that in mind if you're going to buy the dye, the RIT dye to do this with, the liquid dye. Two different blacks, one synthetic, one regular. You're not going to get a true black. You really need to let it sit in the dye for a really, really long time. And then once it dries, it'll be black. But this is wax paper, so you're going to have all of the crinkles, and you're not going to dye the total amount of paper that you have. You're going to have different colors pop through, which is actually the whole purpose of doing this. At least for me it is. So just be careful that you don't take your paper out of the dye too soon, or you're going to end up with more of a purpley, or even kind of a red will pop through on some of it. This one even actually looks a little brown. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're doing that. And then my other colors, I did a lot, and I'm gonna go back on my blog and put all the individual colors and show you how they turned out. But as you can see, this is red, and I think this one turned out pretty good. It looks more like blood soaked. So for the type of journals I make, the alternative journals, I think this will work really well. The lemon, the yellow, I did not leave it in long enough, I don't think, or actually I think I probably needed to put a lot more dye in the water than I did, but I really like it. It turned out fairly well. It's just a kind of a pale color. So then this is one that after I did the yellow, I crumpled it back up again and just stuck it in the red for a couple of seconds and pulled it back out again. And you just get a little bit of the dye on it. And I think it makes a really interesting color scheme here. Then we have some purples. Of course, my favorite color is purple, so I did a lot of different kind of purples. And here again, I just dripped some of the dye from one color onto the other, onto the paper when it was crumpled up. And so you can see it comes out pretty cool. And here's some more red, or this may even actually be orange. I had an orangey color. That's the thing with the dyes, you have to kind of play around with them, and you may not actually get what you thought you were going to get once you get them out and get them rinsed off and dried. But I really like all the colors I ended up with, so I'm going to do some more experimenting. It's getting warm again, and I can do all this outside because it's a very messy procedure, and if you're not careful, you'll get it all over everything, yourself included. Here's some pinks. I can't remember exactly what color this is, but I basically bought every color that RIT had in the liquid dyes, and some were synthetic, some were the original RIT dye, and I just kind of played around with it. The blues turned out really, really dark, and I love this blue. And I love the fact when you're doing the wax paper, you get all of these cool designs in the paper. And let's see what other colors we have. Some more pinks. And these turned out, like I said, really good. Here are some that I really, they truly look black. Once they're dried, but the lighter areas, you're going to see a little bit of different color in there. Some is more purple and some is more brown. But for my purposes, this is going to work out. I don't really, if you need black paper, then you're going to have to maybe use some ink. I'm going to try using some alcohol inks. I'm also going to try taking some black cardstock and using bleach on it to see what kind of effects I can get. And then we have some aqua colors. These turned out really pretty. I really like these. I just did a whole ton of different colors. We had a barbecue that night, and so I was outside all day just playing with this and talking, having a good family time. Here's one that was just an extra piece of paper. I just crumpled it up and put it in the last little bits of water I had, and it's got like blues and reds, and I think there's some yellow in there. It was just an experiment. I think I only ended up with one of that. Some more yellow, and you'll see this was a little bit more yellow than the first one I showed you, but I'm really going to have to do some experiments with the yellow and see how I can make it darker. I'm really much more into the dark colors than the pastel. Here's some more of these that I just crumpled up and put in several different dye batches at the end of it. I saved all my dye, by the way, and I still have it out there, and all the watered down dye in squeeze bottles, and I'm going to try playing around with it. Some more gorgeous blues. So yeah, so these are the colors I ended up with, and you just have to kind of play around, like I said, experiment, crumple the paper more or less, leave it in longer, let it soak longer to see what kind of results you can get. But yeah, this is what I did last summer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you would, please subscribe and leave some comments below and let me know what you thought about it. Thanks.